Chapter 14, coming right at you. So in Chapter 14, we're taking the things that we learned about the market, and now we're going to talk about the individual firm within that market. So when we draw out things for Chapter 14, we're going to draw out things with the market, and that's the things we covered in Chapters 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And now we're going to add the firm here, because the market is made up of a bunch of different firms. And in a competitive market, each firm is exactly the same. So we can draw out the representative firm, in this case, which is going to represent all the firms. So what happens to one firm happens to all the firms. And so here we have the market being in a competitive market equilibrium. And for the firm, we have price is equal to marginal cost. All right, and price is equal to average total cost, so there are no economic profits at this point. And the question I want to ask is what happens in the short and long run when there is a shift in the demand curve? And you might ask, well, what causes a demand curve shift? Well, let's go back to Chapter 4. These are the 5 things that causes a demand curve to shift out. And that's what we're going to look at here. All right, these say 5 things can cause the demand curve to shift left. We can look at that example later. But we want to look at this first. The demand curve is shifting out. So with that, we're going to draw our new demand curve. All right, and so if we look at this, is the demand curve is going to shift out or shift up? And so now we have a new market demand curve. Now the new market demand curve is going to cause the quantity to increase and the price to increase. And so here's the new equilibrium price that the market sets to set quantity supply, quantity demand with this new demand curve. Well, if that's the price that the market sets, that's the same price then that the competitive market firm is going to see. So if this is now the price that the firm sees, the firm maximizes profits with the rule of setting price equal to marginal cost. So when I write, this is the firm's cost curve, that's the firm's marginal cost. So this is the point here that the firm sees with price, and that's the profit maximization point. And so they're going to set little q, they're going to increase the quantity that they're producing. Now as a result of this, profits equal price minus average total cost times little q. And so we can use this and identify this point on the graph. Is on the graph here, this area right here is the area of our profits, because here's price minus average total cost times little q. And that's what happens in the short run. Okay, so in the short run we see a shift in the market that causes the firm to respond. Okay, so each firm makes a little bit of profit. Now the next question I want to ask is, well, if there are economic profits in the short run, what happens in the long run? Now the key difference between the short run and the long run is in the short run, you have fixed cost, you have fixed capital, and there's no entry and exit. In the long run, everything is variable. So firms can enter into the market, firms can exit the market. Well, in this case, because they're economic profits, we're going to see firms enter into the market. And so when we think about things that affect the supply curve, the number of sellers affects the supply curve. And so that's going to having more firms enter the market is going to cause the supply curve to shift out. So in this case, our supply curve is going to shift. All right. And it's going to shift in such a way such that now our new equilibrium price and quantity is the original competitive market price. All right, and so here's going to be our new supply curve. Here's the new equilibrium quantity in the market. And therefore, as a result, with this new price, with the shift in supply curve, the firm's going to see that price and set that price equal to marginal cost. And so this will now be their new Q star. And so each firm is going to return back to the original quantity, Q star, in the long run economic profits. So that right here, price is equal to the average total cost, because our marginal cost curve crosses the average total cost of the efficient scale. And if price is equal to average total cost, then profits is equal to price minus average total cost, which is 0 times little q, so profits are 0. And we have long run economic profits. But now you say, well, but the firm is exactly the same. And that's true. For the representative firm, they see a short-term profits, and they return back by decreasing production back to Q star. But overall, the market saw an increase in quantity. So how can that be? And it helps us to remember this is because big Q is equal to N times little q. So in the long run, little q doesn't change, but we have more firms that entered the market, and so therefore big Q is going to increase. And that's how we do a short run and a long run analysis when there's a shift in the demand curve.